You have to start as soon as I hit start record, don't you? Come here. What an asshole. What an asshole. I've been trying to give you attention all day, and you wait till I hit start record to jump on the table. Hello? I may be in the middle of something. This is cat ownership, what can I say? Come here. Come here, you little attention whore. All right, so today we're going to be doing a video called Countering Michael Butterfly. So Michael Butterfly recently did a video in response to one that I had done 4 years ago, back in the old days, before I had cats that jumped on the table in front of the videos, which was, you fixed my phone screen and it cracked again. And he did a counter to that video with some new points. So firstly, the reason I call him Michael Butterfly is because he once left a super chat on stream, and whatever YouTube, Streamlabs, whatever censorship system, it actually wouldn't allow his last name to show up on stream. The reason he wouldn't let his name show up on stream is because his last name is a genital body part, and I guess YouTube doesn't. So I guess YouTube doesn't see that as Pepsi friendly. So they edited his last name to Butterfly. So from here on in, I am referring to him as Michael Butterfly. And if you want to know exactly who it is, I'm sure somebody in the chat will let you in on it. Now the point of my video was on how to deal with people if they have a cracked iPhone screen again. And I have many videos on this whole idea of you touched it, you broke it, and how to deal with it. And one thing that Michael Butterfly, I almost said his real name, that Michael Butterfly and I both agree on, is that you never argue, go back and forth with the customer. You don't go, they go, it broke again because of you. No, it didn't, it broke because of you. Because there's no point to that. There's no point to get into a dick-waving contest or a fight, because that puts people in the lizard brain mode. And in the lizard brain mode, they're never going to listen to you. It's just, you did something wrong, I want satisfaction. Gah! So we both agree on that. But we both appear to vehemently disagree on how to deal with warranty issues when they demand it for free after the fact. He was saying in his video, he made a couple of points on why every now and then he would give the customer a new screen for completely free, and I just wanted to go over those points. So before we get into that, I wanted to just rediscuss the story that I had told in my old video. In my old video, I had said that a customer had their screen fixed, and this was back in like 2013. This was back when we could actually buy original screens like the Toshiba LCD, the good glass on top of it, not this shit where like it drops from here to here and it fucking breaks again, because they do make that. We were using just top quality stuff. Can't you open your own can? Cats. We're just can openers. And they said a few days later, oh, you gave it to me broken or something like that. And I remember I was watching this woman peel the screen protector off. She said, great! And I don't remember every single detail of it. This is 4 years ago, so this was like a high school diploma ago. But I remember saying that. And the first thing that I do is I'm not going to argue with you over the phone. I'm not going to go back and forth, this, that, and the other. Give me one. I'll be more than happy to take a look at it for you. Bring it in. That's the first thing that you do when you ever have this problem. Don't start going, well, we only cover physical damage, so you fucked it up, so we're not fixing it. Don't do that. Because I'm not saying that people scream over the phone like that, but I see a lot of people do that. I see a lot of people start to get into that fighting mode, like they start drawing their sword before it's time to draw the sword, if that makes any sense. I've had people come back in where they had a tempered glass screen protector, and the screen protector was cracked, and I took it off and it was fine. Can you imagine if I had a 40-minute argument over the phone? You also never want to do this over the phone, because people don't really... They don't understand body language. It's easy for people to flip out or misinterpret what they hear when they're not speaking to a real person. Phone is always worse than real life, and email is always... Never fucking do this over email. Email is the worst, because people can just read the thing, and they can assume the tone of voice that you're using. They can assume, and also they can assume interpretations on what it is you've said without giving you a chance to correct it. So let's say I say, this will be covered under this condition, and they read this condition as, we will not cover anything because whatever. You won't get to stop them at that point and correct them, which is why I prefer real-time conversation. So always try to do this in a real-time conversation. Always be as nice and polite as you can without committing to anything up until they show up. And then this person shows up, and they didn't say it cracked easier, they didn't say it cracked on a simple drop. They didn't even say that it cracked on its own. They said something along the lines, and again, this is 4 years ago, so excuse me here. They said something along the lines of, you gave it back to me cracked. And they were ready to argue this point until the end of fucking time, and I will not allow this to happen. Now I could say out loud, you took the screen protector off, you looked at it, no. But then I'm creating an argument. And once I start creating an argument, we're kind of screwed when we start arguing back and forth. Arguing isn't always bad. I feel like a lot of people associate anger with argument just because they share a lot of letters. But they're not the same thing. They're having a party in the street, if you can hear that outside. They just started, apparently. Maybe that's what stirred up the cat. But anyway, it doesn't work if you have that type of argument back and forth. So what I did is I said, you strike me as somebody that wants to get their money's worth. And she's like, yes. And I'm like, you strike me as somebody that wouldn't let me get away with putting something on your phone that's broken. Yes. And like, you don't strike me as somebody that would have left my store with a broken screen and said, great, and took the screen protector off. And she's like, grr! And got incredibly angry. And again, this is 4 years ago, so you'd have to watch that video because I may be getting small details of what she said wrong. I did this video right after dealing with this person 4 years ago, and I actually didn't rewatch that video before doing this one. So details from memory may be a little fuzzy, but that was the way it went for the most part. Now, the first thing that Michael Butterfly said, is that customers are not always going to understand your logic. People differ in intelligence, and they differ in logic. And I agree. There are people differ in intelligence, and people differ in how they handle rational thinking. However, do keep in mind, and I did this in a video I think as early as 2012, is that people have an excuse to turn off rational thinking if rational thinking is going to lose them money. So if you're telling me that money is going to leave my wallet, money is going to leave my bank account because I used rational thinking, what you've done now is you have now given me what you've now done is you've given me a motivation to not use logic. Using logic is hard. It requires burning wood. It requires brain cells. It requires neurons firing. So I have to work to use logic. So what you're saying when you say that not everybody's going to understand logic, which is why you can't expect to use that to explain to somebody why you're not giving away something for free, what you're doing is you're giving them an incentive to A, not use logic, which is difficult. B, not use logic as a tool, as a means to not spend more money. So you are giving people an incentive to not think. And you're giving them an incentive to not use logic, which I am not for. I do not want to incentivize people to think that if they turn off logic, that they get free stuff. I don't want to incentivize giving people free stuff. I don't want to incentivize bad behavior. We have enough social programs for that in this country. Moving on, he also talked about something called the long game, about keeping a customer for the long term. It's not just about this one customer and this one broken screen and this one specific repair. He talked about how that person's going to tell other people, that person is a customer for lifetime, and I'll make up that money over the lifetime of the business, and that we may have different models on how we think because I admittedly don't want to continue doing this for a long period of time, whereas he was actually talking about opening stores and scaling. So with me, let's see if I can show you where. Yeah, like I'm already planning to. I could show you where I want to be in 5 years. Like 5 years from now, I've got my plan set up so that I want to be somewhere like. Come on, Internet. You can do it. You can do it, Internet. Oh, jeez. I underestimated how slow this machine would be if I tried to use Internet while streaming. Wow. No editing. Yeah, anyway. This is... Come on. So we are going to have some different ideas, because, like, again, I'd like to be somewhere like over here, like 5 or 6 years from now. 5 or 6 years from now, I'm not going to be sitting in a chair in an office at a screen repair place. I'm not going to be soldering on motherboards. I want to have my golf course. I want to have my non-parallel with the floor ceilings, my fireplace, my sauna, my liquor room, my listening room, my lodge, my pond. But we are in different places. However, it surprises me that that even though we are in these different places, and that he's looking at opening new stores, and he's looking at opening new stores and expanding while I'm looking at doing the exact opposite over time. It surprised me to hear him talk about the long game in that concept. The long game in terms of I'm going to give somebody a free screen repair now because it may be good for marketing, it may be good for customer relations, this, that, and the other later. And I'm going to try to use an example that I know Mr. Butterfly is going to understand about scalability, customer service, and how things can spread. If people figure out that you have a specific exploit in your policy where somebody can say the magic words or do the magic thing and then get something for free, it will spread like wildfire. Now, this may not spread when you're a smaller business. This is not the type of thing that people are going to take advantage of or talk about when you've only got five or six customers walking in a day. But if you do have that 1,000 tickets a month, if you do want to open other stores, you do have to think about having these holes in your policies that can be talked about and exploited amongst other people. Because if you go online and you look at how large companies work, if you look at how people deal with customer service when it comes to getting escalated at, if you're calling Optimum or Time Warner, or you're calling about some order you made from Macy's or whatever. So there's certain times where you say the magic words and you do the magic thing and they just give you free shit, or they cave and they give up. And they talk about this on forums. And I don't want you to be at the point with your business where you cave when people say the magic words and then give away free stuff, because then they will tell other people, hey, wait a second, I don't know why you paid again. Look what I was able to get. All you have to do is say this. Ask to talk to a team leader or management something. I don't know. Michael has these funny names. Like, he doesn't call people employees. He calls them like team members. I always kind of felt like that was like at Model Sporting Goods when I wasn't a stock boy. I was an associate. Ah, that's too loud. Thank you, though. Yeah, it's like, I'm not a stock boy. I'm an associate. I'm not I'm not like an assistant manager, like I'm a team leader or whatever. But he has a word, and I forget what the word is. No disrespect intended. I forget what the word is, but there's a word that he uses for like the people that are above the employees. And he's like, if you talk to them, you can get a bigger discount. And I think that it's dangerous that you get yourself into the situation where you can then say, okay, you need to ask for this person, then you need to say that to this person, and then you get the discount. And here's the point that I don't even think Mr. Butterfly is going to be able to contradict here, or not contradict, to combat, not combat, rebut something. I gotta stop drinking that shit. But now let's say that there was a large company, and let's say that large company released a product that doesn't work very well. And let's say that they would fix that product. The best that they would do for you is to fix that product. But if you sent 20 volts to a part of that product and you did that 3 times. Let's say you had a product, let's say it was a ThinkPad. Hypothetical, totally hypothetical, just like my last video. Don't jump cut me, hypothetical. Let's say you have a ThinkPad, right? And you got a ThinkPad T520 from 2011. And let's say that ThinkPad T520 from 2011 has a dying graphics chip. And let's say that it dies, they know that it dies, and when it dies, they'll refurbish it for you for free because they're that nice. But if you kill it 3 times in a row after they fix it, hypothetically speaking, by taking 20 volts from a DC power supply and then sending it to the hypothetical GPU in that ThinkPad T520, which I'd never do. I love ThinkPads. I'd never advise something like that. Let's say you do that 3 times and you keep bringing it back to them. And then instead of fixing it, they say, you know what? You've had such a bad experience with us. I'm so sorry. We're going to give you a Lenovo P50 with a quad-core Xeon and a Quadro 2000 and a 4K screen and 2 SSDs that are an M2. Let's say that they do that for you. They give you all that free shit. That person's going to tell other people, hey, you know what? When it broke 3 times, they gave me free stuff. And then that person goes and tells somebody else, well, wait, what if we just killed it 3 times and, I get myself a new machine because this thing's not running Adobe Premiere the way it used to. I could use myself a new machine. So what if I just simulate 3 failures and then I get them to, instead of performing a repair that probably cost them $150, cause them to give up a laptop that costs $1,500. There's a reason that I use this particular example with Michael Butterfly, because it's a great example of how holes in your customer service policy can spread like wildfire and how they can easily be abused by terribly unethical teachers that advise such terrible hypothetical things. which may or may not work depending on your geographic location. So if you have a hole in your policy that can be exploited to get free stuff, where this person says the magic words, they ask to escalate to the right person, then they tell the right person the magic words, and then they get free stuff. You've now created a situation where anybody can get free stuff. Now, this again, and the reason that I find this particularly interesting, that this was a combat. This is one of his points, is he's talking about scalability. He's talking about opening more stores, having more business, having more contracts, having, buying and selling more devices. So when you're talking about doing more business, you always have to think about the scalability of your policies. Now, what may work when you have 1 or 2 or 3 customers a day is going to be very, very different from what works when you have 50 or 100 or 150 customers a day. You have to think about scalability. Now, I don't have 2 or 3 stores, and I don't have as many employees as he does, but we do have hundreds of people opening the door every day, to the point where the front of the store is so full that people are waiting outside half of the time on the weekend. And we are very fast at what we do. So I have to think about that scalability even at one location. And what worries me is that the more locations you have, the more popular you get. The more popular you get, the more people are going to talk about you on their own personal Facebook page, on review sites, when they're at the gym or whatever. And eventually, one person's going to say, hey man, you don't got to pay again. Just ask for one of the people from the leadership team, because they're going to give you deals that the regular person can't. When you go and you're not going to be mean, you're going to be polite. Then you're going to ask for the leadership person. Then you're going to say that, I was a little disappointed. I really like you guys. It's been great, but I did nothing to this and it cracked on its own. Totally ignore the part that you dropped it and slammed it against the 20-pound dumbbells when you were trying to do your shoulder extensions and you're not strong enough to do the 20 pounds yet, so it dropped in the phone. Ignore that part and say this. That's what you're encouraging to have happen. These unsustainable practices can lead to terrible things, like people sending 20 volts to their laptop GPU and then sending it to Lenovo so that they can get new ones, which I know that the people watching this video would never, ever, ever do, because that would be an abuse of a company policy. All right, moving on to the next of our points here. Now, the next thing that Michael mentioned was that the screens can sometimes break easier than the originals. And this is the part where I know I'm going to get a lot of shit and tons of thumbs down in this video. If you're using knockoff screens, you're kind of fucking over your customers. And the reason I say this is from just the sheer amount of experience I have, not from repairing them, but as a seller of the products. So, but like back in the old days when like Michael Butterfly was this tall, like I used to, well no, we're probably like 2 years apart in age, but I used to sell these things wholesale, and I started my business with repair around 2008, with supply in something like 2010. And in 2010, I started selling, and I was only selling a few at a time. In 2011, I scaled it up to where between eBay, Amazon, and my website, and private sales, I was selling over 1,200 of these items a day. And I was buying different qualities, and I would sell them as different qualities. So I would sell the good as the good, and the crap as the crap. I remember back when, like, you were the cool kid if you knew where to get Toshiba LCDs for the iPhone 4. Because, like, the Sharps, I forget if it's the LG would look blue and Sharp would look yellow, or the other way. I think it was LG would look blue, Sharp would look yellow, Toshiba would look like a fucking IPS calibrated display. This was back for like the iPhone 4. So I remember being able to get the original LCD, good glass, good frames, and you could drop that screen like from the table and it would be just fine. Whereas with the knockoffs, I remember I used to actually have somebody who would pre-test all these screens before selling them. And I'm not, like, there were times that the pre-tester was cracking the knockoff ones, just testing them, like taking it out of the box, removing the bubble wrap, and he would fucking crack it because they were so brittle. And admittedly, he wasn't the best at handling them. He was new. But this never happened to the original. Always happened to the crack. The knockoff screens in this business, they look like shit. You're going to get customers coming in saying it doesn't look the same as it did before. Because now, sometimes they're just being douchebags. That's just expected, especially in New York. But a lot of the time, it's because the screen genuinely doesn't fucking look even remotely like the one in the phone. Like LG, Toshiba, and Sharp, they all look different, like different colors of the rainbow. But they're different shades of a good screen, whereas the knockoff screen will just be a different shade of shit. There's a difference. Different shades of the rainbow, good. Different shades of shit, bad. So you'll have these knockoff screens that look like complete and utter garbage. And they also just so happen to break a lot easier than the original. If you are using shitty screens, I have no sympathy for you. I hope your customers do chargebacks on you. I hope your customers file chargebacks on you. I hope you're replacing them again for free. I remember one time when I had a problem with my order in 2014, we next dayed like 10 or 20 screens from E-Tech Parts. Oh my God. Every single one of these pieces of shit popping out of the frame, cracking randomly. They were literally cracking, like pushing them into phones. Not even the iPhone 5, like the 5C, where you never have bent corners in the 5C, like just cracking, just putting them into the fucking phone. We had people coming back, and if we saw an E-Tech screen, we interrupted them before they could even explain it and said, we're just giving you a new one for free. So if you're using crap on people's stuff, then this admittedly does not apply to you. If you're using crap and you know you're using crap, then just fucking replace it when it cracks again. But if you're using good stuff, if you're actually paying to use original, which very few people do nowadays because of the expense, which is part of the reason I don't do this crap anymore. But if you're actually using the original screens, that's different. But if you're not using the original screen, I would agree that the knockoffs are garbage quality. They are going to break easier. The quality assurance on them is complete crap, and the customer may occasionally be right. So on that point, I think we agree. Now, the main other issue is that Michael said that a lot of the times the customers will say the biggest problem is that they don't even know that it broke again. Like it was in their purse, and because it was in their purse, they didn't see it. It's not like they had it in their hand and it cracked. People can still lie. Don't get me wrong, they can still lie if they dropped it and they know they dropped it. They can still lie if they really want that thing for free, and they can push it. But the thing is that it makes it a lot harder for people to lie, and it also requires a much lower quality of human being on average to tell the lie when you know that you did it. So when you know that you're the person that cracked the screen, when you know that you're the person that screwed it up, then it's hard to lie. But when you know that you fucked it up, it's... Wait, no, let me redo that. Damn sucker. Well, when you know that you screwed it up, it's going to be harder to lie. But when you don't know if you screwed it up or if in your purse, it's going to be easier to lie. Now, the thing is that most people don't even know that they screwed it up when they actually screwed it up. Anybody who works in this industry knows this. What's the first thing that we hear when people walk in? I treat this like a baby. I have no idea. How did this thing manage to break? I just put it down on the counter like... And it's like, what the fuck is wrong with these people? Because they treat it like shit. Or when they go, I have no idea why this isn't turning on anymore. Do you ever spill anything on it? No, I would never eat near my computer. And then I open it, and you guys and girls and Z's and whatever else, you see what I see on camera every day. You see what people do to this shit. That there's fucking flies inside there. They're coated in layers of green and rust and dirt and scum. People that say, I've never been mean to this computer. I have never gotten liquid on this phone. I have never dropped this laptop. I have never eaten near it. And then you open it and it's filled with fucking food and bugs and ants and green shit. So even when customers never admit it. And it's the thing is they're not even lying to you. That's the thing. A lot of the times they're not even lying to you. They're lying to themselves because they believe that if they treated the device nicely, they think that if they did nothing wrong to the device, that it's going to be cheap. If in my mind I erase all memories of eating near my computer, that means that when I take it to the store, they're just going to tighten a little screw and it'll turn on again. It's not going to be that I spilled something on it while I was busy getting drunk doing a YouTube video. Ugh. They're going to, but they have an incentive to lie to themselves. And it's not even that they're lying to you, they're lying to themselves. So people, when they say it broke again on their own, and Michael says they're not even that sure how it did it, that's why it makes it hard. How do you sell them on the repair the first time? That would be my question. How do you sell them on the repair the first time? Because that's the exact same thing everybody says. I never dropped it, I never spilled anything on it, I never abused it. And then you look at the triangle that they call a MacBook Pro, and then you have to explain to them that that's just not true. And the most troubling aspect of this for me, and I know that a lot of people are going to say this is silly, there's no point in doing this, look at your ego, you have an ego, and you're arrogant, and blah, 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 how dare you. But the biggest problem that I have with this mindset where, in the goal of making everybody as happy as possible and the goal of playing whack-a-mole with one-star reviews, of keeping unhappy people away, is that when you treat people differently who come in with the exact same situation, what you're doing is you're finding good behavior. You're saying that if you come in and say, it just cracked again. Guess I'm careless. Just let me know what it's going to be. That person who comes to you who's kind, honest, and caring is going to get fined for the repair. So let's say you usually charge $50 for whatever service you do. I'm just pulling a price out of my ass. Let's say it's $50. And let's say you charge that person $40 because they're a repeat customer, or $30 because they're a repeat customer. Now let's say somebody comes in with the exact same device, the exact same crack in the same place, and is like, this broke because you use crappy parts. I did not break this. I did not break this, and I demand a free repair. That person who comes in with disrespect for you, disdain for you, who instead of taking personal responsibility for their own fuck-up, wants to make you take personal accountability for their own fuck-up, is going to pay $0 as long as they speak to the right person on the leadership team, as long as they make the right ruckus, as long as they make the right commotion, as long as they threaten the negative review so that the leadership team gets involved, which is able to give the bigger discount, as long as they do all of that and they're buying into this whole this long game plan of I won't leave a bad review and I won't if you just deal with my blackmail and give me a free screen. Now you're going to give that person the repair for free. Now, if you give that person who is disrespectful, who doesn't have personal accountability or responsibility, the repair for free, that means in essence you have now fined the good person $30 or $40. You may say, no, you're not fining them. The repair is $50. You gave it to them for $40. Yeah, you gave it to them for $40, but you would have given it to the person for $0 if they were less respectful and had less of a sense of personal accountability and responsibility, which means that you are fining the good person $30 to $40. You are creating an incentive within society for people to have a more negative behavior. I've talked about this with business. I've talked about it with employees. I've talked about it recently in the baby boomers video. I talked about it with social programs, how in the 60s and 70s we started incentivizing the single mother household, which is one of the single largest contributors to negative childhood experiences, to crime, to just all sorts of fucked up shit. And I know, we're talking about screen repair. Louis, we're talking about screen repair. Why are you bringing in all of that shit? Why? None of that matters. You're not changing the world through screen repair. And this is actually an argument I had a while ago with somebody. But the point is that it's the same principle. I remember talking with somebody about 4 or 5 years ago who wanted to buy out my store for $80,000 and threatened to call all sorts of agencies if I didn't, because he assumed I was paying people off the books, which I wasn't. Ironically, he was, and he got in trouble for it. That's karma, but I digress. He threatened all sorts of crap, and is like, and at the end of the offer, when the offer of $80,000 to not open my store didn't work, and when the threat to call all this alphabet soup of agencies to try to have my store closed didn't work, at the end of it he said, you're not going to change the world through computer repair. And he's correct. You do not change the world through computer repair. You don't change the world through screen repair. You don't even change the world through activism, because a lot of people enter political activism or charity and they try to change the world and they don't. Here's how you change the world. Here's what you do. You be a part of the change that you want to see in the world. If you are the president, you can do it that way. If you're a senator, you can do it that way. If you're the head of your local charitable organization, you can do it that way. If you're the head of the church, you can do it that way. The Southern Comfort gives a hint to how you feel. And if you're a janitor, you can try to change the world that way. All you have to do is make sure that your HDMI cable wasn't clawed by a cat. That thing keeps flickering and it's driving me nuts. All you have to do to try to change the world is be a part of the change you want to see in the world in your small corner of the world. It doesn't matter what you're doing. So many people think, I have this inconsequential job, or I do this small thing, I'm not going to be able to have any effect. Yes, you do. Even if you're a cashier at Whole Foods, the way that you smile or the way that you talk to the person you're serving, the way you do your job, regardless of what your job is going to change the world in a small way. You have to be a part of the change that you want to see in the world. And on all these Facebook groups and all these chats and even a lot of these videos, I see people bitching about douchebag customers. I hate dealing with douchebag customers. I hate when people walk in and act a certain way. And here's my question to you. If you don't like douchebag customers and you don't like people that treat you a certain way, then why are you incentivizing them to treat you negatively with the policies at your business? If you want to have less douchebag customers, stop stop incentivizing douchebag behavior and stop finding people who have good behavior by charging them more money than people who came in with bad behavior. Now, I'm not saying that you don't charge different amounts for different things. If somebody comes in and they need just a backlight fuse replaced and their machine had a cat piss on it, and somebody else comes in and just needs a backlight fuse put in it because the BGA god decided that today was the day that the fuse blow, we may charge different prices. The machine that the cat pissed on has a higher chance of something else being wrong with it. It has a higher chance of coming back for warranties, this, that, and the other, and it must be covered under a flat rate program. But if only once, like if the fuse blew, and we can look at it and know in our hearts that it blew because the backlight fuse god said, shits to you today, you're not getting any accounting done, we may charge a different price because they came in with a different type of problem. I'm talking about when people come in with the same problem but different attitude. If you charge people differently with the same problem based on their attitude, that means that you're charging them more money if they have a good attitude. You are fining people for good behavior. And you are the reason why people think that I'm going to get better customer service if I ask for a supervisor. If I yell, scream, and moan, I'm going to get a better customer service. If I say that I'm going to leave a bad review, then I'm going to get to talk to a team leader who's going to give me free shit because I want free shit. And I'm sick and tired of people thinking that if they ask for the owner, that they're going to get free shit. Because come a few years from now, I want to be in that nice house. And when I'm in that house, when I'm in that nice mansion in California on the top of the mountain with my own golf course and a sauna, I don't want people forwarding calls to me saying, Louis, this person wants to speak to the owner. Because they think that they're going to get a special discount. What the fuck is... I tried this. I tried putting vanilla in this. I'm never doing that again. I'm never doing that again. But yeah, I truly believe that regardless of what you're doing, you are going to change the world in some way, shape, or form. You're either going to change it or you're going to keep it the way it is. And I would like that my business, even if it has a very tiny impact on society, even if it only impacts the 20 or 30 people that walk in a day, it only impacts the very small percentage of YouTube viewers that watch this stuff, I would like to have some type of positive impact on society. I realize I've had 3 businesses. This current one is doing very well, and I've had 2 other businesses that failed very, very miserably. I know from experience that when your business goes under, the only thing that will be left behind is the impact that it had on the world, the impact that it had on society. And I know that someday the business that I have will be gone. 186 First Avenue will no longer be a store. It will be a Chase ATM or a mini Starbucks. My website will be taken over by somebody else, and my employees will have moved on to do something else. I know that my company has a finite lifespan, like most companies do, and at the end of it, this is all going to be gone. And all I'll be able to look at is what did my business do for the world? What did my business teach the world? And above all, how did I treat the people that came to my business? And what behavior did I encourage through the practices and policies at my business? Now, again, if somebody walks in and they've spent $1,000 or $2,000 here, fine. If you want to say this cracked on its own and you spend $1,000 here, I will tell you, this did not crack on its own. I may give you a freebie because you bought a computer here, and then you had a repair done here, and then you bought something else in the window, and then you whatever crap like that. I may give you a discount if you've done all of that. But it's not going to be because you're a one-time customer who has only been here once and now walks in all rah, rah, rah saying, it cracked on its own, you need to fix it for free. Now, just since I've seen a few comments in the chat on this, somebody said on the phone earlier on, and I'm trying to remember exactly what it said. Even if they said it cracked again, I wouldn't even wait for them to come into the store. I would immediately tell them that's not covered, this, that, and the other. You really always want to wait until you see it. You always want to wait until you see it, and you want to be kind and polite. Don't agree to do anything for free. Don't commit to anything. Be very non-committal, but at the same time, don't say you're going to do stuff for free. You be non-committal and say, I'm going to help you out. I promise I'm going to help you out, because help you out is one of those vague non-committal terms. You want to use terms that are going to cause them to relax and stop, but not terms that can then be used against you later to stab you in the heart and say, you promised me this, because you never know. They may come back and you left a piece of glass in there, or a broken piece of plastic from the home button is in there, or maybe your assistant put in a screen from the RMA pile instead of you never know, trust me. The reason that I am very kind, humble, when I'm dealing with people who act like this on the phone, and even when they walk in and I say, I'd be more than happy to help you, I'd be more than happy to look at it, is because as a store that's been in business 7 or 8 years, yes, we have put screens on top of bits of fucking glass before, and yes, they have cracked again. And yes, when that happens, I am 110% happy to give them a new one for free screen protector, my complete apologies, and discount on whatever else you have done here. You always have to be open to the fact that you fucked up. But just don't do it from the beginning. And that being said, let's see how many trolls. Would you hire someone who takes your courses? Probably not. Just because if you're taking the course, that means you're probably at the beginning of a journey, and if you're at the beginning of the journey, that means that you're probably not ready for all of the garbage that I'm going to give you or the terrible expectations that I'll have. So I will read through the Twitch chat first because it lets me scroll and is not as cancerous, and then I will make my way through the YouTube chat, and then I will finish my vanilla-laced Southern Comfort. Why? What the fuck made me think to do that? All right. My favorite part of bringing people in to look at redos is it allows you to help them if it is genuinely your screw-up. 2, it allows you to attempt to resell them if it isn't your screw-up. 3, it helps them at least read body language and prevent it going totally Exactly. Again, email is the worst form of... I don't know why people love email for communication, especially with this type of stuff. If I say it would be $100 if, let's say, it would be $100 if it's physical damage again, but it would be free if there's no physical damage. And they look at it and they're like, oh, that's a bad example. I'll think of a better example later. But if somebody misreads what you say, or let's say you say, if it's the fuse, it would be this amount of money. If it is the clock circuit, it would be this amount of money. And they're like, what do you mean clock circuit? Like, clock circuit is the easy... My computer doesn't need a clock. Why is this guy charging me $200 for a clock? Why is he ripping me off? And I know that seems silly, but I've had a lot of conversations where on the other end, the person was fucking fuming and doing something like that. And I couldn't see it. You can never see what the person is doing if you're emailing them. You can't hear their response. You can't see if they're fuming or raging. In person, you can, and you can stop them before they fully explode and explain something. They're like, oh, okay, before they lose their mind. So I avoid email communication like the fucking plague. Call, in person, good. In person, better than call, but email, fuck email, yeah. And I don't like this whole push to like with Repair Shopper. I love Repair Shopper, and I should talk about it more often since they're a sponsor, and the link probably is below where you can check out a free trial to them so we can get more signups than Michael Butterfly. But they push this idea of email communication and email the estimate and email this and email that, and fuck email. Seriously, fuck email. I want to know what the person is thinking. I want to know what they're feeling when I'm explaining something to them. I don't want them exploding and losing their mind in the middle. I want to be able to go, oh, it's not a clock. It is a circuit that has a 25 megahertz crystal oscillator that attaches to a platform controller hub that sends out these signals in this time sequence, and if they're out of sequence, then it doesn't turn on. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Here's my 0.00, I'm not reading that, to your $1.3 million future home. Keep up the good work. Thank you. People laugh, but just you wait. I tanked 6 businesses, which is probably a greater lesson than anything. MobiFix has some good experience. We shouldn't reward stupidity, says Chuck. I agree. I really don't get why people put laptops in backpacks. Why don't more people get hard cases or bags, which have a hard compartment? I don't get that. I get that the same. I thought that people putting their phones in their back pockets was a joke. Apparently, this is a thing. Apparently, putting this in their back pocket is not a thing. Does that mean that your courses are useless? And this comes from the person that asked if I would hire somebody that took my course. Would you say that a bachelor's degree is useless because I want you to go to medical school and then take a residency and then have years of experience before becoming a brain surgeon? Does that mean that does that mean that everything that you learned in the bachelor's degree, and let's assume that this is the olden days, like 50 years ago, back when that shit actually mattered and it wasn't all gender studies and art history, does that mean that everything you learn in college is useless just because they want you to have follow-up? No, I personally want to hire people, if I'm going to hire somebody, that are to a point of at around where I'm at, or maybe one nick down from where I'm at. I don't want to hire somebody that I'm then going to have to put on an entire journey. Whether or not my course is useful really depends on where you're at and what you want to do. If you want to get a primer on board repair and get started on a long journey, and you have a lot of machines to fix, that's the other one. I will tell people constantly, do not, if you're like, I just want to get into this as a business, don't fucking pay me. Don't show up here. No. Get a store or have an office or do this for a few years and figure out if you can get customers and then show up. Otherwise, do not do this. No, I want people that are closer to the end in that journey, because I have too much shit to do. It's not a slow-paced environment. It's, there's 3 colleges in my area. It's the middle of Manhattan. There's 30, 40 people walking in a day. All of them want shit done in a day. Again, I'm not looking to hire people who are on the beginning of that journey. I just don't have a place for entry level when it comes to board technician. Now, they may not hire you to be a brain surgeon, but if you get out of college and maybe you have a little bit of med school, they may let you go to the ASPCA van. So that's where I actually had BlackBerry and Mr. Clinton repaired several years ago. I didn't get them fixed at the regular place, because the regular place wanted like $200 or $300 to just, to cut their balls off, and fuck that. So I went to the ASPCA van, which at the time, if you were broke, the ASPCA van would fix your kitty for free. But they would fix your kitty using people that had never fixed kitties before. So your kitty was the test kitty. And they'll hire you straight out of school, no problem. But the hospital, no. They want you to have some fucking experience before you start cutting open people's brains. So if you want experience in a slower paced environment, go for it. My store is not the place for it. I won't leave. I'm sure that if people who actually worked here were willing to get on videos, they would tell you what a nightmare it is to work for me. But you really don't want to work for me. I get these comments a lot from people that watch these videos that are like, I would love to. No, you wouldn't. You really don't. You want to work for Michael Butterfly. You don't want to work for me. You want to work for Jessa at iPad Rehab, or you want to work for Michael Butterfly. You really don't want to work for me. Just trust me on that. Just trust me on that. If you had to go back and do it again, would you change anything about how you started in repair? What would that be and why? I would start with more money. I would totally start with more money. I would definitely start with more money. I would totally, yeah. Like right now, I have the wiring for the cameras in the store outside the walls. Why? Because I could barely afford to get walls put up, much less have a camera system installed. So like everything that I constructed was ass backwards because I was doing it with no money. 4924, I get PPM002. Does that mean that I need to reflow the RAM chips, or is there a possibility it could be something else with boosting kernel panic? Why are you asking bored questions when I'm clearly drinking alcohol? Like, I want to answer because he gave $2, but like you're gonna get an answer that's really low quality. So PFM002, do you need to reflow RAM? Yeah, I feel bad. You're gonna get a very low quality answer. So I don't even remember what PFM002 is off the top of my head. Here's a hint. If you see this on the table or like anything else, don't ask a board question. Wait until the next day. Let's see. So I'm going to use Google, and I'm sure that like the first result that's going to show up is my form or something. Now I know that with RAM issues, they have this program that will actually tell you which one of the chips is bad. They have the technology for it. It does exist. Are we going to get a hold of it? No. No. We will never get a hold of that technology. But I know that there's something like that exists. So let's see. Where was that error code? Yeah, do me a favor and like tweet the question at me so that I can answer it when I can think. I mean this in the nicest way possible. You don't take a soldering iron to a board based on advice I'm going to give you right now. You should expect a clock circuit like timing chain in a car. Explain. You mean mansplain. I've seen engines with over 250,000 miles in the original timing chain running. If you say so, I have no idea. Lewis would not do YouTube if it was for free. I would say I would have done a certain amount of it. Like, I would have made a solid 60 to 200 videos. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, at some point, you're going to spend time on things based on what may pay you. But I would have done an honest, solid 60 to 200 videos probably for free. Like, getting to the 1,000 plus point was, like, monetization does definitely help with an incentive there. But I would have definitely done the first 60 to 200. Because I don't think I didn't turn monetization on until February or January of 2015. I've had $300 bottles of whiskey and plenty of SoCo. I like the SoCo. Lewis has SoCo-induced smooth brain. Yeah. Yeah, tweet me the question later, man. Just no board question. Board question for later. Or ask it again in the Twitch chat so I can copy and paste it to Duke and perhaps get an answer for you. Not in the YouTube chat, because the YouTube chat is moving way too fast. I admit it, I cracked my screen on my new phone and it fell from the pocket of the teak floor of a boat I was working on, and the phone had one of those covers that protect both sides. Still my fault. My screen is blinking. Either that or my eyes are blinking. Love your streams and watching it since I got a decent enough internet to load it. I don't know do anything related to repair-related work, but I enjoy the way you explain what you do. Good luck. Keep up the work. Thank you. The squeaky wheel, that's all you needed to say. Yeah. I just watched your video on entitlements. If everything you say in that video is true, why do YouTube if it doesn't benefit you directly? That's a good question. I don't believe in this general idea that people will not help one another. And this is one of the arguments that I get into with people whenever I say that I'm, let's say, anti-welfare. One of my core arguments is to be the type of person that will always be able to receive a helping hand. Be the type of person that makes other people's lives better. So one of the arguments is, what if I don't know somebody? What if nobody is willing to help me? And what if I get into this specific situation where I'm screwed and nobody's willing to help me? And my counter argument to that has always been, why is nobody willing to help you? Why, I can't imagine being at a point where I'm homeless. I can imagine my store going out of business. I can imagine my bank account being frozen. I can imagine getting robbed or mugged, but I can't imagine getting to a point where I had no place to live. I can't imagine because there would be so much help along the way from all the people that I've helped over the course of my life. And this even goes back to pre-YouTube. I remember I told this story a few videos ago. There was the time that this really hit home for me was when I needed to find a new space. So I did this video called the $30,000 Pocket Dial. Long story short, I was working and using a space for my business that was then owned and leased by new people who were pretty much drug dealers. And I was complaining to this woman in my apartment about it, and it was right after I was done cleaning out my shower and my bathtub area. So I was cleaning out the shower and the bathtub. I had the Brillo or the steel wool, whatever you want to call it, and the powdered bleach and the gloves. And I answered my phone with that. And then, since I answered the phone to the person who had the space. And what do you think of anime? I like it, but I can't follow the stuff that's not English. I'm sorry. I know I'm supposed to be able to read subtitles. I can't read subtitles while I'm watching shit. But anyway, so I'm scrubbing the bathtub, and then I get a call from the assistant to the owner, and he's telling me all this crap that I'm supposed to be doing, and how I need to change the entire studio around to be the way he wants it. And he's like he's a record label executive that's working for a record label that is hiding the proceeds of their cocaine sales. It's not a real business. Like, even if you were a real business, you're a record label exec. Stop talking to me about how I need to put these horn speakers that are meant for a rehearsal rooms or a live PA system into a fucking mix room. Don't tell me to do that. So I get off the phone with him, and the phone is wet because I was cleaning my bathtub. And I'm talking to the woman, and I'm like, I'm sick and fucking tired of people that sell drugs whose profession is to sell cocaine to tell me how it is to run a studio. You sell your drugs, do whatever the fuck you want. I'm not gonna ask questions or look at it. I'm not gonna criticize how you package the cocaine. Don't criticize what I put in the fucking mix room, or if I put Owens Corning 703 fiberglass in the walls there while they're constructing, or whatever. It was something along those lines. What prompted you to start doing YouTube videos? We'll talk about that in a second. I love what content you put in your channel, and I hope your business takes you where you want to be in life. Have a good night. Thank you. Anyway, so I'm talking to her about this. Needless to say, my phone fucking dials him because it's still wet, and I didn't know this. And it also put him on speakerphone. Now, he is at the Grammys with his boss, and he decides to hold up the phone to all of the people that were there, some of the people involved in these other parts of the business that I'm not going to get into in a YouTube video. And yeah, we went really downhill from there. Let's just say that I wasn't able to use that space anymore. Let's just say that I had to rush in there to get all my parts out of there before bad things happened to them. And I got this call back, and my friend who was the manager of the place gets this call back, and he's like, do you know what I can do to you? Do you know what I could kill your fucking family. Who the fuck you think you are? You know, like pure straight up Staten Island Guido, which I should be better at impersonating since I am a Staten Island Guido. But just straight up, all that crap. And I had to take all my stuff out, and I took it all home. Now, it was nice having a nice, convenient Manhattan location to have stuff. It's different than there was somebody there all the time, so I could receive packages at any time. I could have the post office pick up shit. It was very easy compared to a home where, I'm not here all the time. It's in the middle of Brooklyn. Don't get me wrong, I love my apartment. My apartment is fucking beautiful, nice, large ceilings, spacious. Neighbors can't hear my music. I love it here. But this is not a place to run a fucking business out of. So I needed to find a new place for my business. And I had a shit credit score at the time. Like, my credit score was somewhere in the 500s. I didn't have a lot of money. I couldn't pay first, last, and deposit. And I was kind of screwed. So there was a place next door, and I remember talking to the owner of it. It was Planet to Planet Studios, I think it was. This was John Grossbart, who owned it. He just got kicked out by the douchebags that bought the building to turn it into condos. And I remember talking to him, and I was explaining to him what I wanted to do with it. I was explaining how I planned to pay for it, how I made money, and he interrupted me. He stopped me, and he's like, don't worry about it. And this one guy whose name I forget, I feel really bad for forgetting his name. He's like, he's the one who referred you here. I'm sure you'll be just fine. Here's keys to the room, and you're good. Just get me a check. He didn't even ask for the check. He didn't even ask for the check in advance. He just said, here's keys to the room. The other guy said, you're fine. And the other guy that he was saying was fine was somebody else in this building, 251 West 30th Street, that used to be the music building. And he had some problem in the rehearsal studio. He wasn't the owner of it. He was just one of the guys that worked there. He had a band that was busting his balls because nothing worked. I went up there. I made the shit work again. I forget what I did to make the shit work again. And he had no money to pay me. I'm like, don't worry about it. It was some night at the studio. We were all hanging out at like 11 o'clock. I was getting wasted. The other people there were drinking and laughing. And it was only maybe a 5-minute interruption for me. It didn't really matter much. So I went up, and that act of helping somebody else out then helped me 2 years later. So how could I anticipate that nice act 2 years later would cause me to be helped out when I got kicked out of my place of business by a bunch of people with nefarious professions? And I wasn't allowed to use that space anymore. How could I? Because that's the thing. When you help other people, they are willing to help you. And that guy that referred me, I never talked to him again. I never said, I need to find a new space or I'm screwed. He heard my story from the studio manager's friend, and then he decided on his own to start talking to other people to try to find me a space. So the reason is that when you put out good into the world, or when you help other people, it comes back to you. And it's not always going to come back as an immediate transaction. It's not going to come back to you as immediate ad revenue. It's not going to come back to you like, I do good thing today, I get nicer life tomorrow. That's not how this works. The way the system works, and the thing that drives me fucking up a wall when people talk about how welfare is absolutely necessary because if that person loses their job for 2 weeks, they'll be homeless because nobody will ever help them, so we need to steal other people's money to give it to you, is this whole concept of how are you living your life? Why are you living your life in a way where nobody wants to help you? And this is one of the things that I'm glad that my dad taught me at a very young age. He used to have this thing called the thinking chair. And instead of punishing me, regular, like crappy parents, what they do is they yell at their kids. Crappy parents spank their kids, because it's the easy way of making them feel good. It's like, I got to spank my kid. Yeah, I disciplined him. I showed him, me as a 200-pound, 6-foot-tall man, I showed that 4-year-old by hitting him. Yeah, you fucking limp-dick piece of shit. But the way that you teach children is by getting them to think. And my dad, from a very early age, had this thing called the thinking chair. It's worth $10 to see someone that contributes to driving knowledge, skill, improvement. Kick back and have a drink. Thank you. I will have a drink. Could actually use some more. Why did I put vanilla in this? This is fucking gross. But anyway, so he had this thing called the thinking chair. And he never wanted it to be punishment. When I did something wrong, he'd say, Louis, go to the thinking chair. And then he'd come back 5 minutes later and he'd ask me questions about what I did. He'd tell me a story about something that happened in his own life, and then he would ask me these open-ended questions. And I wouldn't always understand what was going on, but by the end of it, I would. He always wanted me to think about the real-world consequences of my actions. My father wasn't somebody who wanted me, when I was 17 or 18 years old, to not stay out late and drink because I was afraid of getting spanked or having my PlayStation taken away or not being allowed to go out after 7. He wanted me to have these real-world associations with my actions and the way that I live my life. And he taught me from a young age that you should live your life in a manner where if something bad happens to you, people actually want to help you. And that starts with you. So if you want to live in a world where you want other people to want to help you when you're down, then you have to help other people when they're down. So when I started doing the YouTube videos, in 2012, I started in 2012, just with thoughts every now and then. And then in 2014, I started doing the more in-depth board repair videos. So I spent $2,000 on a camera. And I spent $1,000 on a new microscope. And I spent $500 or $700 on the fucking camera for it. And I spent $1,000 something on a new PC. And I spent $600 on capture crap. And I spent more on audio crap. It's like $6,000 or $7,000. And I wasn't monetizing it. And then when I finally hit the start monetizing button, I remember my first month was somewhere between $60 or $150. It's like, yeah. It's not something that comes back to you immediately, and you never know. Someday, I may move into that $1.3 million mansion, and somebody may break into that $1.3 million mansion. And there may be somebody driving by, hears me screaming, help, help, help! And he recognizes my voice because he heard it from a YouTube video on how to fix his laptop. And instead of continuing to drive by, he decides to drive in and, shoot the person that's trying to kill me. You never know the way it's going to come back to you in life. But here's the thing. If you live a life where you're always trying to help others and always trying to contribute to the betterment of the world, life is going to be easier for you. And I'm trying to think, who's the guy that came up with Dilbert? I forget his name. The Dilbert, comic, creator. I'm not good with names. I'm very bad with names. Scott Adams. He had a blog on this a long time ago. I've been following Scott Adams for a long time, long before he became the villain of California for suggesting that Trump may win the election. And there was one thing that I remember Scott mentioning in one of his blogs, which is that regular people have specific goals. So a regular person will say, I will do this work so that I can reach this specific goal. I will do this project because it leads to raise. I will do this project because it leads to promotion. I will put out this video because this video gets me ad revenue. But they never think about everything else it will get you. So his idea was different. His idea was, let's say you put something out into the world, and it's a good thing, and it gets and you have no goal. You have 0 goals. You don't care what this project that you've put out into the world gets you. But let's say that project grows and people become interested in it, and then some way, sideways, there's some way that you may be able to, that sometime later, you may be able to advance yourself in life or get something that you wouldn't have gotten otherwise because you created that project. So for example, if I hadn't done this YouTube series, I probably would have never gotten contacted by the Right to Repair people. I probably would have never gotten to know who to lobby with in Nashville or Nebraska or New York and meet a lot of those individuals. So you never know. You really never know. You can never be sure if what you're doing is going to lead you to a specific amount of money in the future. But you can know that if you are always trying to help people, you're always trying to solve problems, you're always trying to make people's lives a little bit better, that when your life becomes fucked up, you may not get a check handed to you directly, but people are going to be more inclined to help you out than if you've never done shit for anybody. What do you think of CompTIA? CompTIA is a pile of steaming shit for most purposes. CompTIA makes they have a lot of certifications that you can get that A, will never get you a job. So they'll just never get you a job outside of like the minimum wage crap, which you can get at KFC anyway. And B, what they teach you is completely irrelevant. And this is a point that I've gone back to over and over again with the A+. Like, the A+ asks you how many FireWire devices you can daisy chain. I mean, let's see, how many people are watching right now? So right now, we have 913 viewers. Of the 913 people watching, how many of you have ever had to know the exact number of FireWire devices you can daisy chain to solve a problem? They're so fundamentally worthless. They are just garbage. I'm genuinely surprised that people still pay for them. All right, scrolling back up. How does this content help Raj? Helping Raj is Jess's job because Jessa didn't refund him. You can put out help. It's other people's choice whether or not to take it. It's other people's choices whether or not they take that help. The smooth brain test is, scroll through. I have a smooth brain test that works. We have this touchscreen machine that you sign in with a keyboard, and you're supposed to touch instead of using a mouse. So what Steve did is he printed out a mouse on a really crappy, not even a good, like a crappy black and white printer where you could see all the fuck ups in the ink, and then he taped it onto the wood. It's a printout, a bad printout of a mouse. And we'll see how long people will try to move the printout of the mouse before asking and seeing the huge note. It says, like, right next to the mouse, this does not work, use touchscreen. On the computer, it says, touch me, I'm a touchscreen, no mouse. Next to the mouse on the other side, it'll say, no mouse. This is not a mouse. And we'll see how long people use the mouse for. If somebody tries to actually pick that piece of paper up and use it as a mouse for more than 5 seconds, that they failed the smooth brain test. So yes, I do have a smooth brain test at the store. I get the impression that Lewis is the type of boss you either love or hate or no in between. No, only hate, pure hate. You don't want to work for me. That's why I laugh when the guy's like, would you hire somebody who took your, like, no. If you took the course and you worked with me for a few days, you would completely understand why you would never want to work with me. I would almost suggest, like, you're probably equally as bad off working with Duke as you are working with me. You would probably, you may just want to work for Duke rather than working for me. I want to say that I really enjoy these videos. I felt bad for watching and not contributing. You shouldn't. So here's what I could spare. Why does my TV keep blinking? Keep up the good work and have a good one. I don't know if the HDMI cable is bad because the cat fucked with it, the TV is bad, or if this computer can't stream and output to another monitor at the same time. Hello. Yeah, we'll find out later. Do you think the scratches on your screen increase the chances for a cracked screen since it damages the temper? Probably, because the thing is, a lot of what you think is a scratch is actually a microfracture. And enough microfractures and you'll break it. How is it living in the city as a vegan? Doesn't really change my life much. Being a vegan in New York is all the rage, so plenty of choice. No, there's 99% of the places you walk into look at it like you have an eating disorder. I have this thing where, like, I find places that I like to eat, and I just eat at them over and over again. So if I find a food that I like and a place that I like, I'll just keep buying that thing over and over again for like 3 or 4 years. So for me, I find stuff I like, and I just keep eating it. Word of mouth enough isn't enough to make a good living. I guess it depends where you are. And that's where there's geographic differences between Mr. Butterfly's business and mine. Like here, word of mouth is important because there's 8 million people on a rock that's like, the size of Knoxville. It's too many people. There's a lot of people. What's the best way to advertise your business? You got to ask more specific questions. I don't want to not answer your question, but that's just not specific enough. That's like asking like what, there's just, yeah. Like what business are you in? Who do you want to market to? What do you sell? Where did you start? If you want reviews, you just have to do the type of service where people give you reviews. Like, for example, with my business, if I say it's 1 to 2 days for an estimate, 2 to 4 days to fix, and then it's done, I mean, I technically delivered the service. I did what I promised I would do. I did better than every other store in the area, and I certainly did better than Apple, but that's not going to get me a 5-star. You really have to go above and beyond. Give people the type of experience that you would never expect to get anywhere else. And you can't do this all the time. Again, as I talked about sustainability, you can't do amazing things all the time. But you can figure out how to make people have a fun experience at your business, and you can do it every now and then. And don't do that bullshit where people are like, oh, $20 off if you leave a review, or 20% off if you leave a review. Free screen protect if you leave an in-store review, because then you're just being a cuck. Don't do that crap where you pay people to like you. It's like the kid that used to do other people's homeworks so that people would pretend to be his friend. Don't do that shit. Just give people an above and beyond average experience. What if, let's say, their child broke the device and the customer has no idea? The customer now honestly believes that you are screwing them. Again, it's about responsibility. If you fucked that customer's wife, Michael, and that kid has your DNA, and that kid cracked that customer's phone, then fine, replace the screen for free, and for fuck's sake, apologize for fucking his wife. But if that's not your child, then it's not your problem. It's about where the responsibility and accountability lies. Whether it's the customer that broke the screen again, or the customer's child that broke the screen again. That's still on them. It's all about accountability and responsibility. Where should it be placed? Whose problem is it, is what it comes down to. And at the end of the day, their kid breaking it, that's their problem, not yours. Let's see. I feel the need to state from a non-customer point of view your combination of experience in tech repair and tenure in these scenarios gives you the right to be courteously blunt. I don't think I've ever been courteous, especially since I implied that Michael Butterfly has been sticking it to his customers' wives. I don't know if you can get away with that shit. I don't know how you get away with that in Ohio. If I did that here, people would come in and break my store glass. I don't know how Michael gets away with this shit. If someone sent you a board and requested you to fix it while drunk to see what would happen, would you do it? No, because that person's going to be mad when I destroy it. Nah, they're going to be mad. Michael just assumed my wrong. If you've seen her Jaeger video, LOL. His, not her. Wow. Now he's assuming my gender. Rage. Rage! I gotta dye my hair blue for the next stream. Greetings from Mexico. I learn a lot from you, like how to act like a... That's confusing. I don't know how I teach people how to act like a man. Come to Mexico and I'll buy you a beer. Someday I will go to Mexico. And maybe I'll have a beer. Oh, for God's sake, give up the Canada jokes. We have the land, the water, the healthcare, and our leader can complete a sentence. I don't understand what makes Justin Trudeau qualified for his position. But then again, it's hard to tell what makes our leader qualified for his position. I shamefully used to have a thing about diddling other people's wives, but my argument for that was that they wouldn't have come to me if everything was good anyway, and I pretty much without exception would advise the women to get marriage counseling before I saw them naked. Heh, bad man here. All right, so at least, I may have not pointed out the right person that was guilty, but... So if Mobile Fix winds up impregnating one of his customers' wives, and then that kid grows up to break the guy's phone, then I would say in that situation, he should have to replace that screen for free. I don't believe in alimony, but I completely believe in having to replace the screen for free in that situation. Who is Michael Butterfly? That is a good question. Who is Michael Butterfly? All right. I think I've gone through just about everything that makes sense here. So that is my thought on why it is that you should not give somebody a screen for free if it's not your fault. And if you are going to give somebody a screen for free, this is my argument as to why you should only do that to people that come to you with a sense of personal accountability, and respect. If they come to you with those three things and you want to give them a screen for free, by all means do so. But I do not suggest that you start fining people for good behavior. And even with good behavior, I don't suggest that you start giving it for free, because you never want to be in a situation where you're going through Reddit one day, you're just reading through Reddit, and you see that there's a thread on how to get free stuff at your business. Because the second you see that, you are going to turn into the most, how do I put this? Like your heart is going to shiver and turn into this little piece of coal, because you're going to realize that your goodwill was used against you by random people that just wanted to get something for free. So just be very careful about having policies at your business where if somebody does these specific things and comes in with this specific issue, that you will automatically give them something for free. Be very careful of that, because as you scale, it's very easy for that to get abused. And just something to think about. So that's it for today, and as always, I hope you learned something. And the rest of this will probably be a cat video. Actually, I don't think I'll end it just yet. Clinton? Hi. Who's a good boy? Who's a good Mr. Clinton? Yes, you bite the corner of that ThinkPad. Marcus says I'll give you $10 if you go another hour. If I wanted to go back to Model Sporting Goods. Don't put your paw in front of the fan, boy. Don't turn this into a MacBook. Michael says time to apologize to someone's mom. Let's see if you can hear the purring. Turn it up. No. Don't go near the cup, Clinton. Bad, bad. Don't drink that. No, no. What a prick. What an asshole. You just closed the computer. Mother. He was a good boy. Yes, that's right. Put your ass up for YouTube. This is how we're going to get viewers. This is how they get donations on Twitch, I hear. They take that and they point it at the camera. You're totally ready to be a live streamer. That's a good boy. Get your ass away from the camera. The interface is piece of shit PreSonus Audio Box 1. I didn't buy it for quality. I bought it because it's just the cheapest piece of crap I could find on Amazon. And that's it. The cat has decided that the cat has had enough. So that's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something.